So shame is a huge part of my story, and shame is essentially an intense feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Throughout my entire life, I felt shame, whether it be from being adopted and being different from the rest of my family. I felt shame for the color of my skin and just being kind of like isolated because of that. I felt shame for a lot of the things in my past, for my mistakes I've made in relationships, for things that have happened to me. But I allowed this shame to control every area of my life, my thoughts and my relationships and my relationship with God. I listened to the people who told me that I didn't matter. I've been so angry at God so many times, choosing my own ways and my own preferences, which have led to a ton of heartache had I not just followed Jesus. I wondered when I would ever just be normal and heal and I just be over it. Throughout my darkest times, my brokenness, I kept this shame to myself, thinking I was too broken for anyone to really care. I was scared of the judgment and scared of the heartache for being judged. But sometimes your sin, your shame is just a showcase of God's grace. I know that silence feels like the easiest option, but silence is a tactic that Satan uses to isolate us. We're not defined by our past because we have hope and a promised future and healing. I remember one of the biggest times I was able to really heal was on a Sunday morning in the lobby, and I went up to Joe when I was a student and I told him about what happened in my past, and I was prepared for being judged and being told that it was your fault and all this stuff, but Joe just cried with me, and in that moment I really felt like I wasn't alone. I thought I would never heal, but God is a God who leads us into wholeness. And it took time to realize that God is only good and He's only kind and He's only faithful. He's gentle and kind and loving in the moments you don't feel Him, the times you feel alone. And there's still a lot of days I still feel shame, but I know that the future is bright and healing has come and healing is not linear. But God doesn't delight in my suffering and He doesn't delight in yours, and you're not alone. And there are people who are on your team and for you and your healing. So don't do this alone. Your shame does not need to control you, and you are not your past or your present or your future. If you are feeling a lot of shame and guilt for the past or things that you're going through, I'd encourage you to turn to your small group leaders, to turn to a community that loves you, and don't just do it alone, because it is okay to feel things and it's okay to be upset with God. But you also need to understand that He does love you and He's for you. If you took it to someone in the church and you were judged and rejected, that's not okay. And I'm sorry for the hurt that has been caused by people in the church for not being a good reflection of Christ. But I hope you know that that is not an accurate representation of the selfless love of Christ. Please know that I'm here for you, and there are people on your team who are for you. But now that you've heard my story, I encourage you to share yours, as people want to hear it. Just like my story, your story can also be redeemed, and beautiful things can still happen.